And we are live, queuing up the theme song. Theme song is queued up. Action.
Yeah, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah.
It's a new experience.
Yeah, keep your ears open for this one. Got a question for RLN. It's time to get some answers, baby.
Now getting real.
Time to get down.
Good now, real good. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Global Happiness Specialist, Inner Peace Practitioner, Oracle, fitness instructor, author, mother, but most importantly, a student, ongoing student, happiness specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington. I got my own name wrong. Oh my gosh. Rebecca L. Norrington, happiness specialist. Now we can start the show. Let me click this off. Got it. Remind me later. Happiness specialist. What the hell? Who the hell does she think she is? The nerve. Well, let me just start off by saying that when I say happiness, I'm talking about an energy. Forget the words. Energy, a personal vibration of peace and contentment, regardless of what happens, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what gets thrown on the path. How do you maintain and sustain an energy of contentment? I was asked today, I was at the gym, and I was asked, well, if you content all the time, then how does anybody get anything done? What contentment, then there's no one accomplishing anything. And of course they miss the point. It's just like when I say contentment, peace and contentment, it's just like setting your temperature gauge in the room, in your house. You set it to whatever's comfortable. 70, 75, I particularly like in 60, 65, 80 degrees. So it is a temperature. It is a internal temperature gauge that is set at contentment, regardless of what other stuff that happens. And my definition of happiness is the ability to maintain an energy of peace and contentment, regardless of what happens. Done. And how do you stay there? How do you hold on to it? Usually the program is something happens and I feel great. Something happens, I feel great, or something doesn't. Something happens that is unwanted. Now I'm feeling bad about it. And then I blame my emotions on the story as to whatever it is. Now I feel bad. But what I'm here to say is all of that is bull crap. You can maintain energy, a personal energy of contentment, regardless of your circumstances. But guess what? It's a practice like anything else. From being an artist, an athlete, a musician, a speaker, a writer, a painter, a chef, it is a practiced skill. Happiness, inner peace, contentment is all a practice skill. And the other thing, what I find is most do not value this thing called happiness, contentment, peace, until it's too In fact, I always share this. There's a very famous study. You can Google it. It's called the 5 Most Common Regrets of the Dying. And it was done by a hospice nurse, Bronnie Ware. You can Google it. And so she asked her patients that had days to live, weeks to live, months to live, what are your 5 biggest regrets? And the 5th regret is, I wish I would have been happier. And that's all I'm doing on the show. That's what I've been doing for decades, is sharing how to, how to, how to, and it's not about achieving, it's about being, it's about a vibration, it's about an energy, an ongoing, consistent energy. And it's possible with practice. The first part of the practice, when I say it's a practice skill, let me just step back a little bit. As soon as you're born, you're given a name, a nationality, a religion, a race, and a culture. Then you spend the rest of your life identifying and defending that program. And this, what I say is, it is the programming. In fact, hold on a second. My latest book, Programmed for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth. In this book, I list 56 program behaviors. That's a lot. I'm up to 58 now, but 56 program behaviors that subtract from a person's happiness, energy, vibration. 56. And I also list 26 behaviors that will add. So when I say programming, there's 3 different levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. By the way, this is on Amazon. Level 2, level 3. And the focus is always on putting a spotlight and eliminating these program behaviors one by one. The awareness is the work. Again, happiness is a state of mind. It is a state of being. It is an energy that I'm speaking of, not an event, not an achievement, not an accomplishment. It is a way. It is a way. What's the way to live? I'm going to say that it is a way that when practiced, life doesn't get, now I'm skipping through the tulips. No, when it is practiced, being aware and eliminating the programming, there is a shift of perspective. There is a shift of recognizing what's really important and what's not. There is a shift, a major shift, and this life becomes, or scratch that, the journey becomes easier. The journey becomes easier. But today's topic is one of my favorites. It's about procrastination. And I said the truth about procrastination. I was labeled very early age, grammar school, high school, a procrastinator. And that meant that I could have done better. I put things off, all of the stories, all of the tagging, the labeling. And it wasn't until what was I, in my 30s? Must have been in my 30s. Yeah, in my 30s. I don't really remember, but I remember labeling myself. When I was labeled a procrastinator, the next stage is you start labeling yourself. Oh yeah, I'm a procrastinator, and always feeling bad about it. I mean, how many people? Yeah, I'm a procrastinator. Let's form a club. Yeah, always feeling bad about it, until this one, a woman that was very helpful with some of growth, some of my realizing what the truth is. And she said, procrastination, she says, you're not a procrastinator. You just haven't been inspired. You just haven't been inspired to make a move, to do something. And I have right here, I typed it out, not typed it out, but I wrote it out. Procrastination is the voluntary delay of an important task despite knowing it will lead to negative consequences. Well, when I said program behaviors, believing that procrastination, number one, is a judgment, and all judgments subtract from happiness. The other thing is this labeling self with, especially with a negative, it is like, yay, let's go, procrastination. It is another form of programmed beliefs. And I challenge, especially challenge, let me just stick with myself, challenge that, can I find something, can anybody find something different perspective, finding something good about being a procrastinator? I mean, the world says it's a bad thing, but is there something good about not making a decision or not doing something? This definition, it says this was an AI generated. It is a self-defeating behavior. Here we go. It is a self-defeating behavior, often driven by an inability. Wow, this is really bad. An inability to manage emotions like anxiety, frustration, self-doubt, which leads to a cycle of temporary relief followed by long-term costs. Unlike simply just being lazy, true procrastination is a failure. See, look at that. I'm a failure to self-regulation that can become a habitual, damaging pattern. Guilty. And this is what I used to believe. All of this, I mean, when somebody labeled me a procrastinator, not somebody, my parents labeled me a procrastinator, I didn't feel good about it. And I carried it for so many years and so many decades until my friend, and shout out Joyce Schaefer, shout out to Joyce Schaefer. And she said, Rebecca, you're not a procrastinator. You just haven't been inspired to act yet. And that hit me, that truth hit me so hard. It released, this release, it released this years and decades of this belief about self, belief about something negative that someone already labeled at an early age. I'm just not inspired. And that stuck with me even to the point, well, my first book, it probably took a couple of years, but the second book, this second book, Program for Unhappiness, it's on Amazon. And in this book, I list 56 program behaviors. I'm actually up to 58 now. 56 program behaviors, and one of them is a belief that, yes, I am a label. I am what a human judges and labels me. Even not only a human, how about labeling and judging myself? So that statement that you just haven't been inspired yet has freed, and not only freed, but has taken me to another level of more peace and contentment. Just not inspired. Not inspired to call, not inspired to write another chapter, not inspired to fill in the blank. There's just no inspiration. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a no thing. It's not good, it's not bad. It is just what it is. And so if you are interested, and if you value this thing, this energy of contentment and peace and happiness, guess what? Let go of all of these self-judgments, self-criticizing, defecating, is defecating a word? Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. All of this, and practice practice aligning with the universe and what God believes about you and me. How Rebecca, God's looking over, the universe is looking over. God, Rebecca didn't write another chapter. She put off writing she put off writing a chapter. She put off writing because I'm in the middle of writing book 3 and 4 at the same time. Don't ask. Put it off for weeks and months. God's not going to judge or make a decision or make a claim. Boy, that Rebecca, geez, she was such a procrastinator. It's not even universal. The procrastination or believing that you are or believing that I was untrue. It was an untrue belief. It's just lack of inspiration. How do you like now? There are some things, of course, I was doing some reading on this, and I'm not talking about medical issues or when you get to a certain age and I don't feel like doing anything. Nothing medical. This is all mental. A mental belief, a mental belief of what's true and what's not. And it's not an easy practice. It's not easy. I can do nothing on a Friday, a Saturday, or Sunday, or let me scratch that. Nothing productive. What the mind or the ego would say is productive. What is productive? And I can just do nothing that's productive for days. However, what has changed and what has shifted is that I'm not going to feel bad, or I'm not going to scratch that. I'm going to allow the mind, the ego, the conscious critical voice to say that, oh gosh, don't you feel bad about it? It's like treating myself to something that I know isn't too healthy, like French fries from McDonald's without the salt. That's healthier, isn't it? Treating myself and then feeling bad about eating it. It's the same. It's that guilt. It's that shame. It's that self-guilt, self-shame, shaming, criticizing self to the point of feeling bad about the behavior or lack of behavior. So I'm here to say that procrastination on a general level just means lack of inspiration. To sum it all up, procrastination is just a lack of inspiration in the moment. And the moment can last an hour, the moment can last an afternoon, the moment can last a day, the moment can last a week, the moment can last a month. There's no inspiration. There's no inspiration. And in fact, in nature, all animals act off of instinct and or natural instinct. Hey, good morning, Jay. So back to animals acting off of instinct. And so what I want to say is this feeling bad or feeling critical of self, I didn't do. Can we practice letting that go? Inspiration to action. That's right, Jay. Inspiration to action. And see, now I'm getting chills from you, Jay. I'm getting chills. And that's it. It's not about a belief in this human program that quite frankly, all the mind, all my mind, all my ego, all of these thoughts in my head has one job, has one focus, is to make, and I'm using me feel bad or distressed, or I could have, about what I didn't or what I didn't accomplish. And I'm here to set you free and myself free. Well, I've been free for a long time about this. In fact, probably to a fault where, didn't do it today, not inspired. And then the mind is so tricky because the mind even plays against itself. And you know you're in a loop. You know that you're trapped when the mind goes back and forth with the mind. And the whole intention is to still feel bad. The whole intention is to have this vibration of dissatisfaction. The procrastination can, I'm gonna say that, yeah, I'm president of the procrastination club. And so what? And I would like to say that if this is an issue, because I hear it a lot, oh, I'm a procrastinator. These people, when they say that and they share that with me, it's always oh, I'm a procrastinator. 500 lashings with the wet noodle for me. No, the shift in perspective changes. There is no such thing. Is there something in nature do the animals procrastinate? Does the universe procrastinate? There's no such thing in the universe. There's no such thing in nature that that procrastinates. So you already know this is man-made. This is human-made. This is a program that when not made aware of can really make a person feel bad about themselves. Any comments or questions about that? We go. Now I'm gonna add this. It says being a procrastinator. And again, this is just an AI generated definition. What I said is, what is procrastination? And it's irrational. Okay, here we go. Procrastination is irrational. You know that delaying will be harmful or costly in the long run, but you do it anyway. I mean, unless it's something medical, you have this big, lump growing on your forehead, and gee, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'll just, I'll just, I'll just continue to let it grow. And in fact, I do know some people that do have medical issues and they don't go to a doctor for whatever reason. And you know what I say? Number one, I'm out of the business. Number two, it is not easy to comprehend the bigger picture with this little limited mind. It's impossible to comprehend the universe's plan with this small mind, limited. And that's why the practice is to just surrender. The practice is to trust and surrender to whatever moment I'm experiencing. When you get older, is it motivation or physical deterioration? Well, you said physical deterioration. That's really funny because next week, don't tell anybody, but next week on Monday, I turn 70. 70. Gray, 70 years old. When you get older, motivation or physical deterioration? Well, I'm going to answer that by saying it is individual. I don't like to do hypotheticals. That's an individual when you get older. Some people lose their motivation and some people lose their physical ability. I'm at the gym every morning and 6 a.m. riding the elliptical. I spent probably about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes doing a variety of things. And there are two gentlemen in the gym. One just turned 97 and the other one is 97. Both of them are World War II veterans. And I have to say, they're in the gym every morning, lifting weights, riding the bike. Mentally, they're capable. So it varies. It varies, Jay. That's what I believe when you get older. The motivation is an individual personal and individual. That's what I would say. So I'm going to ask you, are you motivated? Reminds of, oh my gosh. It's funny you would say Dick Van Dyke, because my son, who is 40 now, I don't know how old you are, Jay, maybe you're 40. I could be your mother. Who's 40 now. Is in theater, and there was a show. This is when he was in California. This was years ago, probably 20 years ago. He did a show with Dick Van Dyke, and he didn't even know who Dick Van Dyke was. And when I say show, it was a theater. It was was it a musical? Yeah, we got Dick Van Dyke. Now that guy had a lot of energy, but the interesting thing, older than that. Yeah, okay. You're older than 40? Join the club, join the club. Usually I find a lot of people that are younger than me. Well, actually not in this community. There are a lot that are older. But back to it is an individual. But let me get back to the point of this whole topic about labeling yourself. I don't care what what anybody else labels you, but what you label self. All of these labels, the ones that I had digested and really believed, yes, I'm just know that number one, the label is always a suspect, and always ask, is this really true? Because like me, I can be different things at different times. My personality, my behavior can change in a minute. I can go into a room and sit back and just listen, or I can go into a room and take over and be a leader. In when I say leader, I'm talking about, okay, does a fitness class, if I'm teaching, that's being a leader, leading a fitness class. So just know that you are more. This is what I believe, that you are more than this limited program belief. There's a very famous personality, Myers-Briggs. Yes, there you go, Byron Katie. I have it right here. Hold on a second. Let me see. The Byron Katie. And it's so succinct. The 4 questions. Let me see. I have the 4 questions somewhere. I know I have them because I love those 4 questions. The first question. Oh, here we go. Beep. Look at all my notes. Look at all this. All my notes that I always carry around me. First question, Byron Katie. So, am I a procrastinator? Is it true? And then the second question is the last one. Can you absolutely know that it's true? And then the third question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? Well, I believe that I'm a procrastinator, just like what the world shares. It doesn't feel good. Number 4, who would you be without that thought or that story? And again, it comes back to spotlighting all of these beliefs that are untrue, that have an end game of making me feel bad about myself. And it's impossible to be the energy of contentment and feel bad about myself at the same time. Procrastination is a more active choice to delay, even with the awareness that it is a bad idea. You see how the ego that's a bad idea. I'm telling you, all of the suffering, all of the discontent is right here. Nowhere else. And when the practice is to know that all of this shit, all of these stories untrue, one perspective, ego authored, ego created. And the practice is what? Is to witness. The practice is to separate and witness. And you know, this is my new thing. I just started this. I just got this message last week. Because I already know about the stories. I already know I don't, whatever going in between here. I hear it, I see it, but I don't identify with it. But this is the newest thing. The universe told me to be entertained. Scratch that. Practice being entertained with all of the drama going on here. Practice, because listen, a movie, television, sports is entertainment. A concert is entertainment. Practice seeing all of this going on as entertainment. The universe thinks it's entertaining. It is what it does. Okay, let me do this, because this is some why. What that does is, number one, it lightens the energy. This is entertainment. It also allows me to let the mind run, not too long though. Let the mind run, let it run. But know what it is. It's like looking at a 5-year-old, or watching a 5-year-old get into some dirt. Watch it. And then, you know, the other question is, sometimes I say, so I hear all of your doom and gloom conclusions. How is this going? How is this thought? How is what you're telling me? How I know it's going to serve me in some way. Can we come up with that? Challenge your mind to come up with a solution. Challenge your mind to come up with a perspective that's going to feel better. It's going to go silent. But even more than silent, but it only goes silent for a second or 10 seconds. But even with all of that, silence for a few seconds. The new practice is listen to all that entertainment. Listen to all that entertainment. What a joke. What drama. Doom and gloom. Oh, yes. One of the things that it's doing right now with me, my son, you know, he's his own individual, and we have an interesting relationship where there's a lot that is compatible, and then there's a lot that's not compatible, not good and or bad. And so what happened? What was the point? Oh, but okay, here we go. So, but the mind is saying, oh, you're not as close as some mothers with their sons. In fact, in my feed, listen to this one. In my feed, there was a woman. She is a life coach, counselor for mothers. And I just saw this last week, for mothers who have lost their connection with their sons. Not mothers but mothers who have lost connections. I said, what? Lost connection? So my point is, the stories of all of the stories, they're just not true. If you could practice knowing that nothing here is true. I mean, unless you're doing a scientific experiment, unless you are calculating something, or you're chemistry. Is it doom and gloom, or is it the reality of the situation? There is no such thing as doom and gloom. That's a judgment. That's a judgment. So what I say, and I've said it for 100 years, is life is an experience without judgment. The judgment is a program. And I'll prove it. And I'll prove it. Well, I'll prove it. I'll attempt to prove it by you. There's a newborn baby, say 6 months old. Say when they could sit up. I don't know. 6 months. When did they start sitting up? I already forgot. 6 months, 8 months. They start crawling, walking in a year, 2 years. I don't even remember. But take a baby. And I don't care what scenario you tell a newborn or toddler, 6 months, 1 year, guess what? Your family, your house just burned down with your parents in it. Baby is not going. There is no doom and gloom. Before the programming, the doom and gloom is a programmed belief. If I could get anything across, is just question that the judgments are the problem. Judgment come from a program. And in fact, quite frankly, one of my biggest realizations is before the World Trade Centers. I think I've said this before, but before the World Trade Centers were blown up, and I remember thinking there is no way that anything good is coming from that destruction, death on that day. There was no way I come with anything. I mean, talk about the height of doom and gloom. There was nothing that I could that this mind could envision. Nothing that this little pea brain could envision anything good coming from that. That was the ultimate doom and gloom, if you will. I in the late 90s, I think it was 98. It was 98 before they were blown. I went all the way up to, more than once, all the way up to the top of the World Trade Center, and you can look down and you can see planes, little planes. They looked little, not little planes, but you could see planes beneath. You could see the Brooklyn Bridge. And then I just remember there's no way that anything good is going to happen from that. Until I went to visit, until I went after the construction, the reconstruction. And it is a, memorial site. And there's everybody's name is written. There's two huge buildings. It's not buildings, but they were the shape of the World Trade Center. And so now it is not a hole, but there's a, why can't I come up with the word? Anyway, there is it is a hole where the buildings used to be. It's huge, both of them, the same size as the World Trade Centers used to be. And around each structure are the names of everybody that died that day, or the day before, or days after. And I remember, I really was hesitant about going, but I knew I had to. I went, and it felt, not to make light of death, not to make light of people's tragedy, not to do that. And this is going to sound kind of odd, but I felt God there. I felt God in that space. It was overwhelming. Overwhelming. So the doom and gloom, just know that that is just another program belief, program judgment. Hopefully that point got across. And this is not an easy practice. And I can say that if, my son died or I poisoned him, bad joke. My son died. Would I be, my son died. I know something good is coming. This. I don't believe that would happen in that moment. However, I do believe and I do trust that everything that happens to me, that happens to you, is serving us in some way. And it is not easy to comprehend it. It is almost impossible, but it is a trust, and it is just a way of living. Okay, doom and gloom is a reality situation. So you say the reality, what? What is reality? Reality. Do we need to go there? Jay, I love you. One of these days we're going to have to meet. I don't know when you're going to get in the States. And I don't know what island are you on? Are you on Oahu? Are you on, my favorite island is Kauai. I plan on going back to Hawaii before I breathe my last breath. Anyway, so back to the sum it all up. The judgment, the program judgment that procrastination is something negative is just that, another program. And the procrastination, my perspective is, it is just a lack of inspiration. And inspired action is always coming. However, the program is to say, well, when is it happening? When? That's another program. Are you able to relax and be patient? Be patient with the process of waiting for inspiration. That's not easy. It's not easy, especially when you're programmed, because the programmed belief, the programmed person wants shit happening yesterday. So procrastinators, unite. I'll be your president. Nothing wrong with it. It just means lack of inspiration. Yay! I would love that. I would love that. I would love that. Okay, that's the end of today's show. Gee whiz. How the hell can I keep talking for 50 minutes into thin air? That's a gift. That's a talent. Me and my new buddy, I have a new person that I like, a political person that I like now, and very smart. Ooh, he's really, really smart. And the thing he says is, I'm just talking, and I'm in an empty room just talking. Okay, that's the end of today's show. The takeaway is procrastination is just a lack of inspiration. There's no such thing. Don't buy into the hype. That's the end of today's show. Follow me on X at RL Norrington, my YouTube channel, Rebecca Norrington. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. Instagram handle is RealitySpirituality. And what else? Let's see. RealitySpirituality is heard every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, unless I'm traveling. I was in Roseburg, Oregon last week. That's why I took the time off. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon, but that was published in 2014. But my second book, Program for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth, is on Amazon. And in this book, I list 56 program behaviors that subtract from happiness. And again, happiness is a practiced skill. Inner peace is a practiced skill. Contentment, the vibration, the energy of contentment is a practice. But what do you practice? You practice eliminating all of the programming, including that programming that being a procrastinator, labeling yourself a procrastinator is bad. No, it's just lack of inspiration. Until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe, your conscious energy, which is always evolving, always changing. Your point, your purpose is to experience this human journey without judgment, with expectations, to relax, to surrender without resistance in the moment. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. That quote is from Abraham. And you've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, Rebecca L. Norrington, happiness specialist. Remember, happiness is a practice skill, and I promise you, the more you practice, the more peace you're going to find. The more you practice eliminating the programming, the more peace and the more contentment you're going to find. Your experience reflects on what you practice. Have a conscious week. Cueing up the theme song. Here we go. The theme song, cueing it up. Queuing it up.
It's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience.
Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN?
It's time to get some answers, baby.
Oh, now we getting real.
Get down.
Somebody said I blink too much. Have a great week. Have a great conscious week. And a stream.